Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Sunshine Reader and Rose Writer. Today's episode, I'm going to be kind of giving you a quick overview of A Tale of Three Kings by Gene Edwards. I don't know how many of you have read this book, but I actually read this book in college and it was super encouraging. So I'm just going to go through some highlights of this book. It's not my favorite book of all times, and it's not even in the top 25, but I would say it'll be in the top 50 of my books. And it's something that in these times, it's more and more essential for us. The topic about this is a study in brokenness, and I'm sure all of us can relate to that. A brokenness in relationships, a brokenness of maybe a past that you've gone through, but a study in brokenness and how these things will impact you and impact all of us. And so today I'll be reviewing parts of chapter 5 and 7. Now, a lot of brokenness is present in our world, as you're very much so familiar with. But A Tale of Three Kings, Gene Edwards really focuses on three kings. Of course, first he focuses on King David and King Saul in stark contrast. And we have later on, after David becomes king, his own son Absalom. And trust me, all three of them have their own difficulties, struggles, flaws, etc. But the part that really spoke to me is in the first few chapters of the book. Chapter 3, I really got into it. Chapter 4, I was hooked. And 5, I was like, this is it. These 3 chapters are the ones for me. And so those are the ones that I want to share, 5, 6, and 7. In chapter 5, we talk in a deeper level of some of the pain that David went through. And sometimes brokenness isn't brought upon by something we have even done. Sometimes it's brought by something others have done to us. And in this case, that was David. He was just doing what he was supposed to be. He was a shepherd for his dad. And then after that, he killed Goliath. And then he got on David's radar for real. Saul's radar for real. And then after that, conflict came up between David and Saul became really jealous, and then he became an adversary. And so he used his position of leadership as a way to better target David, and that led to a brokenness and a loneliness that David felt and is very evident in many of his Psalms. So I just want to kind of peel back the pages a little bit and read pieces of chapter 5 to you. I'm not going to read all of 5, 6, and 7, even though they're very short and it's like only 6 pages if I were to read all that, but I'm going to just highlight to you why this book was so important to me. So chapter 5, it goes into God has a university, a small school, few enroll, and even fewer graduate. Now, it's a school that he has, in this school, he does not have broken men and women. Instead, he has several other types of people. He has people who claim to have God's authority and don't. People who claim to be broken and aren't. And people who do have God's authority, but who are mad and unbroken. And he has, regretfully, a great mixture of everything in between. All of these he has in abundance, but broken men and women, hardly at all. In God's sacred school of submission and brokenness, why are there so few students? Because all students in the school must suffer much pain. And as you might guess, it is often the unbroken ruler whom God sovereignly picks, who meets our pain. David was once a student in this school, and Saul was God's chosen way to crush David. Now, as the king, Saul, grew in madness, David grew in understanding. He knew that God had placed him in the king's palace under true authority. But the authority of King Saul was true? Yes, he was still God's chosen authority, chosen for David. Unbroken authority, yes, but divine in ordination nonetheless. It's possible. David drew in his breath. He placed himself under this mad king and moved farther down the path of his earthly hell. Chapter 6. David had a question. What do you do when someone throws a spear at you? Okay, and to really abbreviate what they say, we all know what you do. When someone throws a spear at you, you pick it up and you throw it back at them. Well, that was David's conflict. When King Saul was fighting after him and he threw a javelin at him like on 3 separate occasions, David didn't pick up that javelin and be like, I got you, King, I'm a better aim. No, he didn't say, King, I got this, God's with me. David actually ran away, and that's why he was running all over Israel and in the land of the Philistines, all of that. And so when you throw back a spear, sure, you prove you're courageous. You show that you have aim. You show that you're bold. You show that you're stand against wrong and that you're tough. You can't be pushed around. But you will not be standing for necessarily defending the faith or keeping the flame. You show that you won't be wronged. And these attributes combine to prove that you are also a candidate for kingship. Perhaps you're the Lord's anointed, after the order of Saul, that is. There's also a possibility that in some 20 years, you will be the most incredibly skilled spear thrower in all the realm. And by then, quite mad. If you throw spears at people and you learn how to throw darts of pain and anger and bitterness, and you pick them up, most likely you're going to throw them back. And you'll be very good at that. But you won't be who you were supposed to be. And so David did not throw back those spears. He did not know what to do when they were thrown at him. All he did was dodge them. So what do we do when people throw spears at us, or they throw their authority at us in the wrong way, or they throw anger or their bitterness, and we feel broken and we feel down? Well, first, pretend David did. He pretended that he could not see the spears, even when they were coming straight at him. Now, in conjunction with that, let me just read the second one. Second, he did duck very quickly, I might add. But third, he pretended that nothing had happened. And so to me, that hit me deep, because sometimes I'm a very emotional and sensitive person, and I'm like, okay, that hurt me, that hit me, but just, okay, I didn't see that. I'm processing it, but I'm ducking around that and I'm moving on to the next way. Now that's me and my emotions. It's a little different when someone is literally out to throw dangerous things at you and they are seeking to be your adversary. And in this instance, he's saying, not every instance, you still got to sometimes know when to speak and when to be silent and when to act. Okay, there's a balance to all this. But in this particular instance, David did not want to go against the authority in his life, but he took action to keep himself and his family and his friends safe. So David would dodge the spear. David didn't say anything about those spears, but David knew when to run. Okay, so all of those things kind of combined. So what I'm really trying to say is, when someone throws a spear at you, whether it be a word or an action, don't pick it up and throw it right back. And I'm guilty of that, because my tongue likes to go on and on and on so many different tangents. And sometimes I get a little emotional and I get hurt and I'm like, oh, you want to say that? We can play this game. So that's definitely something that this book really, really touched on me. And so let me just read the very ending on that. So you can easily tell when someone has been hit by a spear. He turns a very deep shade of bitter. And might need to add, go back a little bit. David never got hit. He knew how to dodge those spears. And gradually, he learned a very well-kept secret. He discovered 3 things that prevented him from ever being hit. 1, when that spear came at him, David learned nothing about the fashionable, easy mastering art of spear throwing. When that word comes at you and you feel it kind of come at you, David did not learn how to take that pain and that anger and throw it back at that person. David instead channeled that as a way to talk to God, as a way to bring those burdens and concerns to God. Now, he sometimes got really real with God and was like, God, I don't understand why this is going on. Can you kill him? Because I can't, and stuff like that. But David didn't take that action into his own hand. Something I know I could struggle with, and probably something you're going through too. And then the first thing he did was to not throw those spears back. Secondly, he stayed out of the company of spear throwers. We know who they are. Let's just be real. We know who they are. You can think of people in your mind who are known for their words, their cutting words, their strife-serving words. You know these people. Anyway, don't be that person either. So stay out of their company. 3, keep your mouth tightly closed. So that's the hardest thing to do sometimes, to not respond in like manner. But how do you not become a spear thrower like King Saul or be a leader like that? One, do not learn how to throw your words like that. And you can do that too by avoiding people who do that. And three, when you are angry, it's probably the best idea to keep your mouth silent, lips sealed. So that's how spears will never touch you, even when they pierce your heart. And so I found that super encouraging. So I don't know exactly what you've gone through, whether you were hurt by someone in leadership or you're in a leadership position, but there are some things that we can learn from that. And I'm definitely still learning. So I'm not saying this because I've got my life all together, but I'm saying this because I'm finding things that are helping and encouraging me. And I just wanted to share that with you. So again, this is A Tale of Three Kings. It's really right. A Tale of Three Kings by Gene Edwards. So if you get the chance, I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. You can also probably find it like on other cheaper websites, just saying. But yeah, it's a really amazing, incredible book. The chapters are really short. On average, a chapter is literally like 2 pages. Like I actually basically read to you chapters 5 and 7 just now. So it's really short, really brief. Highly recommend that if you are a leader, or you have been hurt by a leader, or you're wondering, all right, what are some things that I can learn to grow as a leader? Or I'm kind of curious, what does that look like when I am in a leadership position and I'm wondering how to grow myself as a speaker or grow myself with a heart for others? How do I handle myself and grow as a leader, one who motivates and encourages people under me? I highly recommend that book to you as well. And so kind of curious what kind of leader you are. Like, would you say you're like David or like Saul? We didn't really touch much on Absalom. Maybe we'll do that in a later episode. But thank you so much for listening. And as always, I hope that you stay safe, smile much, and love so much more. You guys, things are crazy, okay? But guess what? Today is another opportunity to breathe and to live and to have a purpose. And so I hope that you are doing yours and fulfilling it. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. As always, I appreciate you. If you would like, or you get the chance, you can always like, subscribe, or comment. I would love to hear your input on these videos. Hey, if you have a book that you want me to read and talk about it, or you're curious what are some other books that I recommend you read, let me know. There's always space in the comments below. Have fun, y'all. Stay safe. Bye.